Hey, my name's Jonathan, and I'm a veteran.
Hi, my name is Daryl, and I'm a veteran.
My name is Chad, and I'm a veteran.
Hey, I'm Travis. I'm an Air Force veteran.
Hi, my name's Ashley, and I'm a veteran.
Well, happy Sunday, everybody, and welcome to Conversations with a Vet. My name is Carol Lee. So I have a wonderful guest waiting in the wings for you. But before we get to him, I just wanted to throw a couple of things out. So if you haven't already picked up Jason Lee Morrison's book, it is called The Perfect Fucking Life. Pardon my French. It's a great read. It is all about his thoughts while he was in certain situations and in the military. And the other is called Internal Volume, and that is by Lee Allen Deckelman. So you can find both of those out there on Amazon. Very good reads. Also, if you're a comic book fan, you can go to globalcomics.com here, let me just post that, the link for you in the comments section so you all see that. And let's paste. All right, so we've posted that out there, and I'll also post it here for a moment. Let's save that, and we're gonna throw that one out there. Okay, so globalcomics.com/a/tales-of-nihilism/comments. So, and that is where you can get the comics from my last guest from Sunday, and that would be Stephen Russell. He's also working on a book called, I think it's Troublemaker. So it's at blueearbooks.com, and Troublemakers. So you can search that up. I know it's in pre-order at the moment, but if you want to go ahead and get that ordered, you could do that too. So, all right. I want to take a moment and let's see who we've got out there in the comments. Jason, thank you so much for being here and supporting. Ron Wayne, welcome. Jim, welcome. And of course, we have the TSB Scuttlebutt podcast. Appreciate you being out there. I see you. So, okay. Well, make sure, please give a warm welcome for my guest, Richard Fleek. He is a Navy veteran. Howdy.
Hello.
How are you today?
Oh, man, I'm doing great.
Excellent. So how's your Sunday going? I know we talked backstage briefly, and we do have a limited time for you. So we'll try and stick to that. So.
Yes. My Sundays are awesome, man. I cook all day on Sundays.
You cook all day. What kind of foods are you cooking?
Today I did like a big up pot of homemade marinara, and then I made some grilled some pork loins.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah. I always do my meal preps on Sunday, so I'm good through the rest of the week.
That's awesome. So you've got a lot of things on your plate that you've got, and we'll get to those after a bit. But I want to hear a little bit about your childhood and your education. How was that for you?
My childhood, I was probably like the shyest person on the planet. I think I said a total of maybe 4 words until I joined the Navy. Like Uncle Sam has a way of opening you up, but I was had low self-esteem. Literally, when I say I talked 4 words, like you had to be in my circle, or else I'm not talking to you. I'd be in this little clamshell.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which is, my friends are like, that's kind of bizarre because now he never shuts up.
I know who you're talking about. He's a good guy. Definitely a good guy. So yeah, That's awesome. Um, okay, so really shy. And did you have siblings?
Yes, there was four of us.
Okay. And what, so just shy. Did I'm
Extremely.
outdoors, I'm sure, things of that nature. Did you get out? Were you a reader?
No, I hated reading. I hated school. I loved baseball, so I played a lot of baseball. Um, I had a pretty boring childhood.
Well, it could be worse, right?
Yes.
Welcome, Killian. Thanks so much for being here, kid. So, what about your education? Were you studious?
No, not at all. So this is how studious I wasn't. I already knew in ninth grade that I was taking uh summer school classes after 10th grade, after 11th grade, and then again after 12th grade. And then I even had to do alternative night school
Oh,
after
geez.
that, just so I could, because I had to get a diploma or else the Navy wasn't going to take me. They're like, well, you can join the reserves, but that's it. I'm like, well, I don't want to join the reserves. So I had to, I barely made it. So I was supposed to graduate in June of '84. I didn't graduate until January '85, but it was pretty important for me to get my diploma. I didn't want to, I don't know, it's more of a mind thing. So
Yeah.
I went and I finished it up, absolutely hated school, and joined the Navy. And I was gone, and I was in boot camp less than a week after I graduated.
Oh, gosh, that's quick. So,
Yes.
what was it that prompted you to go into the Navy or
Um,
military in general?
yeah, so I knew from the day I was born that I was going to join some fashion.
From the
I,
day you were born.
yeah, that's all I ever thought about when I was a kid. I just wanted to get out. And so I knew I was bad at school and I didn't want to be a dishwasher. That's one of the reasons. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with washing dishes, man, as
Yep.
long as you're working, you go out there and you kill it. But I was washing dishes through high school just to make some money. And there's some older people that I worked with, and I'm just like, man, that's definitely not what I want. But that's not the reason. That's definitely it helped. But when I was younger, I actually had seven grandparents, so some very longevity in my family.
I
I had,
would say so.
I had three great grandparents and all four of my grandparents, and out of that, I had three of them were males. So my great grandfather, he served in the Navy in World War I, and then his son, my grandfather on my mom's side, he served in the United States Army during World War II, combat veteran, Purple Heart. He got and he was shot in Europe, almost died. Thank God
Oh,
he
wow.
didn't. And my other grandfather, on my dad's side, my grandpa Fleek, he served in the United States Navy, and his first duty assignment right out of boot camp, because the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor while he was in boot camp. His first assignment was to go to Pearl Harbor and fill body bags and assist cleanup.
Oh, wow.
And so I used to love talking to them and getting their stories, so much so my mom would lecture me, stop asking your grandfathers about the war. It upsets them. But every time I would ask him questions, my grandfather on my mom's side, he's literally one of the strongest men I've ever met in my life. And he would literally come, I would get him to tears every time I would talk to him. And so I always was, that's kind of what drove me to ask more questions, because here's this guy who's my superhero. And when I talk to him, like, what happened 40 years ago to make this man cry today? And so that's kind of where my podcast stems from too, because after I became a veteran myself, I would go to like VFWs, American Legions, and I'd always find the old guy at the bar and just start picking his brain. And it gets emotional. Heard some amazing stories, and I'm always telling myself, man, these stories have to be documented, because once this gentleman is gone, this story is gone forever. So now I have a mission to talk to every single veteran on the planet and get their story, have it documented.
Yes. And I've said that too. I had an opportunity. I'd gotten a phone number of a Vietnam veteran, and so I gave him a phone call and I told him what I was doing. I was just starting my show. And he literally said, "I really appreciate you reaching out. but my story is going to go with me to the grave.
Yeah.
And that was really heartbreaking to me.
Mhm.
It just seemed like he was just it really affected him in ways that he felt he could never tell anybody
Right.
about it. And that's heartbreaking.
Yeah. So early on, before I moved my podcast to YouTube and using StreamYard, I used to invite the people over to my room here, and I had a table set up over here in the corner. One day, I had a local guy, a Vietnam veteran. He came in and he told his whole story, and it was an amazing story. And the night before, my podcast goes Sunday night evenings also. The audio version of it goes Monday morning. So on Sunday evening, he called me up and he was like, "Hey, Richard, can you do me a favor?" I was like, "Yes, sir. Anything you need." Can you not post that? I'm not comfortable with my story getting out. And I was like, "Oh man, I'm not going to try to talk you into it, but your story was awesome." He's like, "Yeah, I'm not comfortable." So I said, "Hey, it's your story, not mine." So I pulled it, and I mean, who am I to say it's his story, right? But
Right.
I feel like uh, everybody should tell their story for more than one reason. I think it's very therapeutic for the veteran to talk and get their story out. But it's also I could tell you many times I would get a random message like a DM from some random dude that I never met in my life. "Hey, thank you for that story last night. I was there in Ramadi or Fallujah, and I really needed that tonight." And I'm just like, "Heck yeah, man, it's working. This is
Yeah.
awesome."
It is. And I know from the veterans that I've had on the show now, mind you, I've not been doing this near as long. I've only been doing it since October of last year. So the veterans that I've, excuse me, that I've had at the end, backstage after the show, they're really thankful to have had the opportunity to come on and tell their story, they say, and then they tell me how cathartic it really was. And
Yeah,
I think potentially for that veteran that you had, it was one of those, he got the story out, he told it to you, and that was enough. He just didn't want to put it out there for everybody.
right.
But you're right, though, these stories will eventually go away unless they continue to be shared. And
Mhm.
I mean, to me, this was the only way I knew how to support our veterans. I am not a veteran myself. I do have two military sons. Um, so, that, it, and of course, background, family in the military, both on my husband's side and my side, my parents, my mom's family. So, um, it's important to me. And I recognize the sacrifices, um, just the basic sacrifices from being a
Yeah,
mom, right? I mean, they miss all of the things, the holidays, and if they have a
yeah,
child, they miss some of the things like the birthdays and the first steps and the first words and all those little things that people take for granted, but as a parent are so important. So I recognize that as well, and that's why I started that mine. So it was interesting to come and find out once I started it, YouTube started flooding me with, which when I searched, it seemed that there was really a lack of veteran things that were out there on YouTube.
mhm,
And so I thought, well, this is good for me to do this. And then it seemed like suddenly they were popping up in my feeds. So I was really, really happy to be able to collaborate with you and hear what you've done when I met you over at the local VFW. So thank
correct.
you for that.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's talk then when you went to boot camp.
Yeah.
How was that?
Uh, it was eye-opening. So the very first thing my drill instructor said was, excuse my French, I have to swear.
This is your show, your platform. You do what you need to do.
My drill instructor, as soon as everybody I was there a couple of days early, so I waited for everybody to onboard. So lucky me, I got to spend a couple extra days there waiting for people. But once boot camp really started, um, and everybody was there, I don't even remember how many there was, 30 of us, whatever. But my drill instructor was yelling how much he hated civilians, and his exact words were, "I hate civilians," and my mother's a civilian. I fucking hate her too. And I was like, and I was a huge mama's boy, and I was just like, what did I get myself into? This guy hates his mom.
Wow. Yeah. That's a little frightening, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Right? Hate your
Yeah.
own mom. Which I'm sure he didn't. It's
Oh,
just
no.
something that he threw out
Yeah.
there.
These guys are super mean and nasty too, but the day of
Intimidating.
graduation, day of graduation, man, they're just like, "Hey, come on, let's go have a beer." And I'm like, "Huh? Who are you?"
That's great. That's great. So, okay, so that was when you first got there. So
Yeah.
what was it like? Like, what kind of things did they put you through?
Um, in the Navy, I think it was mostly like classroom work. They basically teach you. I mean, there was definitely a lot of running. I mean, double timing, but it's nothing compared to what the Marines go through. But there was a lot of class work. I mean, again, I hated class work, so
But you made it through.
yeah, I was terrified. I have this weird, like, when I take a test, I black out and I can't see anything. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I have this roadblock when it comes to tests. So I was a little worried about that. And I actually failed a couple tests, and it held me back a week, which absolutely frightened me because I would have been devastated if I would have got kicked out. But
Yeah.
I made it through, and I actually left January 28th, 1985 was my very first day in boot camp, and I turned 19 3 days later. So that was fun.
Wow.
That was fun.
And how long was boot camp for you?
8 weeks.
8 weeks. Okay. Okay. Excuse me. So we have Paul Freeman out there in the chat. He said Fleekster was a great shipmate.
Yeah, I served with Paul.
That's a great accolade there. So thanks for that. And okay, so 8 weeks in boot camp, and since you like baseball, how was the running?
Oh, so I was a runner, man. So running was no problem. That was the easy part for me. I was never not running when I was a kid, so I was ready to go for like that kind of stuff. Breeze. The only, like I said, the only thing I struggled with was when you put a book in front of me.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I don't do well at tests either. I have a mental block. And
Yeah,
then
for sure.
if there's noise or something, then I get even more frustrated, and I just shut down
Oh
completely.
yeah, same.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Two out of my three kids, I just want to say this real quick. Two out of my three kids, all my kids are smart, but one doesn't like school either. But the other two, like one has a master's degree, and the other one, my youngest, is studying physics in college. So I got a couple
Nice.
brainiacs coming from this dumb dude.
Kids are great, aren't they?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. And each one their own little niche in life, which is great.
Yeah.
So, and they'll find their way, which is wonderful.
For sure,
'cause
yeah.
I've got my youngest graduates this year from high school, and then my middle and my oldest are Marines. So, one of them will be out soon.
Yes, it's awesome.
Hopefully, the other one will be out by Thanksgiving. So, but yeah, okay. So, did you have to go through all of the firearm stuff like the Marines do?
No. So
No.
funny story. I never once touched a weapon my entire time in the military, not even in boot camp.
Wow.
When we were supposed to go to the rifle training, so my boot camp was up north of Chicago in Great Lakes, Illinois, and I left January. So you know what it's like in Chicago in
Cold,
January.
snowy,
Oh yeah,
windy.
it stormed for like 3 solid days, and it was the same days that we were supposed to do the checkout on our rifles at the range, and also the gas chamber. I was lucky enough to miss the gas chamber
You
too.
didn't do the gas chamber.
No,
Oh, my
It wa-
youngest loved it, or my middle child. He absolutely loved it. That and rappelling. He just thought those were the bomb.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he didn't get that from me.
It snowed so bad they wouldn't even let us out of our barracks. They wouldn't even let us go to chow those 3 days. They brought food into us, so it
Wow.
was just the luck of the draw, I guess.
So probably so you didn't have to just stand in line out in the cold.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And so what did your parents think about you going into the Navy?
My mom obviously was beside herself. My dad was like, "See you later."
I support you from
Like,
afar.
yeah,
Go away.
peace out. Yeah. But when I left for boot camp, my friends and I did an all-nighter the night before. I think that's common for most people that leave for boot camp. I hung out with my friends all night, and uh, I had to be at the recruiters at 5 o'clock in the morning, and so my friends dropped me off at 4 o'clock in the morning at my house so I could say goodbye to my mom. I woke her up, say my goodbyes. I hugged her, and then when I left, I went down the street to my aunt's house to say goodbye to her. Because she only lived a block and a half away, and she was kind of like my second mom. I was very close to her, so I went to say goodbye to her. And when I left, I passed by my house again to go to the recruiters, so the recruiter was going to drop me off at MEPS. My mom was still sitting out the window like this, staring out the window, the same exact spot when I left 45 minutes prior. So that broke my heart. I had to carry that with me all the way through boot camp, thinking about my poor mom.
It's tough. I know. I had to. They said that you weren't allowed to go where they were at MEPS, which was for my middle child was in a hotel, right? And I'm like, it's a hotel. That's public. I'm going.
Right.
But even still, so we got to have dinner with him that night. But it was like, hugging him goodbye for the last time. And
Yeah.
I'm like holding it together. And then the minute I like turned my back to walk away, it was like whoosh. And that was really
Yeah.
difficult because Marine Corps nowadays is 13 weeks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, nothing. And in fact, that phone call you're supposed to get when they first arrive, come to find out, I never got it. Right. And of course, I'm freaking out, wondering what's going on. Come to find out, like family day, the day before graduation, he's like, "Oh yeah, I was in front of a phone that didn't work."
Oh,
And
great.
they're like, "Try again." Okay. So, all righty then. So, yeah, it is what it is. But we both survived it. So I was,
Yeah.
thankful for that. And then, all right. So where did you go then once you graduated, once you got through boot camp?
So then I went to school for 4 weeks, which that was also in Great Lakes. So after I graduated boot camp, I stayed there for 4 more weeks, and then after that, they sent me home for a couple weeks before I went to the fleet, and then I was stationed at NAS Alameda, California, and I was on an aircraft carrier then.
Okay. And what did you think being out to sea?
Oh man! So when I first showed up to Alameda, the ship was on the back end of a Westpac, a Western Pacific. That's what we call the big cruises, the Western Pacific. And so I was there for like, I don't know, 7 or 8 days. They just had me up in this. It's kind of like a hotel on base. I didn't really do anything, which is I felt like I was going to get in trouble because I wasn't doing anything. I was just laying around on my bed. But finally, when they came and knocked on my door on the last day, and they said, "Hey, kid, your ship's coming, and go down and grab your stuff and wait at the pier." So I filled up my sea bag, threw it over my shoulder, and hiked down to the pier. And you could see the ship. So an aircraft carrier is massive. You don't really understand the size of this thing until you actually see it.
You're like
But
a little ant standing there.
yeah, yes. So and Alameda is right in the Bay of San Francisco. So I'm standing on this pier in the backdrop. San Francisco's back there is absolutely stunning. The view is stunning. and I could see out past the Bay Bridge the ship. And, you know, it looked like it was like this big, but it was way out there. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And the closer it got, and I'm just like looking up at this thing, thinking, holy hell, man, what did I do?
How long did it take to get from the bay all the way in?
Hours.
Hours.
It took probably most of the day.
Okay.
So what's
you had to sit there and wait?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hurry up and
wait. Isn't that like the motto for like all military branches?
Yes, for sure. But I don't know if you've seen the statue, the Lone Sailor. I think there's like 7 or 8 of them across the country. There's one in like DC, but it's just a sailor standing there with a sea bag. And so I could really resonate with that statue because I'm literally on the end of this pier all by myself. I don't know anybody. You know, there's people are starting to show up to greet their sons or their husbands or whatever on the ship. At the time, there was no females allowed on combatant ships, but now there is. So I'm on this pier and people are starting to show up. I don't know anybody. I'm just standing there minding my own business. And then finally, this monstrosity pulls alongside the pier, and the boatswain mates on the top, you know, they have shotguns because the ship is so gigantic you can't throw a line down to the pier. They use these shotguns. Okay. They shoot this giant cork, and then the wire goes with it, and then you pull the rope. And so I got to witness all of that. And you know, they set up the brow. The brow is like the big ladder that goes up to the ship. So the sailors start filtering off. Then once everybody came off, and then I walked up for the first time, and to say the least, my anxiety was through the roof.
Yeah, that I can't even begin to imagine. I mean, wow. And how was it once you got out to sea? Were you nervous being out on the water on the ship?
Not really. So because the ship had just came back from a major deployment, it was probably a good 8 months before it sailed again. So I actually got to know the ship before we took off for the first time.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, we do workups first before we go on a major deployment like that. So the workups might be, you might go out for one day and you come back in, just, you know, to kick the tires, make sure everything's going. Then the next cruise might be 2 or 3 days. Then the next cruise might be a week. Then the next cruise might be a month, and then 2 months. And then you do all these workups because you have to be checked out. Everything has to be signed off. And then they send you out on like a major cruise, the Westpac. And so I was 20 years old and I sailed 4 continents.
Wow. Where did you end up getting to go?
So the continents were obviously North America. You know, we sailed all the way up down the coast of California, Hawaii, and then we went to Africa, Asia, and Australia. But many cities inside those continents, like we were in the Philippines. We went to Singapore. Mombasa, Kenya. Oh, wow. Diego Garcia, which is a little tiny. It's so small, it's not even an island. It's an atoll out in the middle of the Indian Ocean. We spent 10 days in Perth, Australia for Christmas that year, 1986. That was.
Did you get to celebrate awesome. Christmas?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So whenever a ship pulls in a port, well, back then it was very cool because if you didn't have a duty day, it was free time. You could just go, come back. You didn't have to come back until your next duty day. And your duty days go once every 4th day. The ship has to be manned by at least 25% of the sailors. You know, you can't just leave an empty ship out in the middle of nowhere. So
come back and it wouldn't be there.
Yeah. So every 4th day you had to do a duty day. Well, some of the countries that we went to are so shitty and so poor and disease ridden. I would take people's duty days, but in the event that we go somewhere cool, I get to cash it in. You have to take mine. And so I saved them up. And the entire almost 2 weeks we're in Perth, Australia, I was gone. And So my LPO said, hey, if we ever go to LPO means leading petty officer. He was my boss. He said, hey, Fleek, if we ever go to Perth, Australia, man, first thing you do is go down, get in a cab, and tell him to take you to Cottesloe. I mean, this guy had been in the Navy for 20 years, had been all over the place, so he knew where to go, right? So I was like, all right, cool. So as soon as I got cut, went off the ship, walked down to the pier, hopped in a cab, and said, hey, take me to Cottesloe. And all I have is I just had my bag packed, had enough clothes for 10 days, and he dropped me off in Cottesloe, and I walked around and I found this little chalet that was pretty much right on the beach in the Indian Ocean.
Oh, wow.
So I walked in there and I asked the guys, how much is a room per night? And he was like, it's $100. But the $100 was obviously in Australian money. The conversion rate was 50%. So for me, after I converted my money, it was $50 a night. So I said, awesome. I paid up front for the entire 10 days. And I called back to the ship and I told my guys, hey, when you guys get off duty, come out to a Cottesloe. I have this pad for the entire 10 days. And so they started flowing in over the next day or two whenever they got off. And we just partied hard for 10 solid days with Australians.
Oh my gosh. That's quite a story.
It was awesome.
That's excellent.
At the same time, the America's Cup was going on, the big sailboat race. You know, they go all over the world, these big races.
Yeah.
And so the race was going on right off the beach we were at. So it was so awesome. So there was like reporters from all over the world in the same spot we were for the race, and it was amazing. We met so many cool people that 10 days. It was amazing.
Nice. And okay, so out of all of those countries and locations, what was your favorite?
I loved Singapore. Was nothing like I expected. So we went to Philippines first, and Philippines is pretty run down and poor. You know, all their huts are makeshift huts, and there's a river that separates the base and the town, and the river's called Shit River because that's where the locals go to. They go to the bathroom there. They go to wash their dishes there. They go to wash their clothes there, all in Shit River. And the sailors, as they were going across, would stand on the bridge and throw pesos in the river and watch the little kids swim through poop trying to get these pesos. But, so that's what I thought. That's what I thought when we pulled into Singapore. I kind of expected more of that, but it wasn't. Singapore was actually like it was comparable to like New York City. It was just this amazing, thriving city with it was just absolutely gorgeous.
And they've got a lot tougher regulations in Singapore.
Yes.
Yeah.
They don't like people drinking either. So you have to be careful of the bars you go to. Obviously, when sailors and Marines pull in, what they do is they go straight to the bar. So they warned us beforehand, like Singapore doesn't like people drinking. So be careful. Make sure you ask how much a beer is or whatever you're going to drink before you order it, because you could order a beer and it could literally be $100 because that's how they get their people not to drink.
Well, I guess that would do it. It's kind of like cigarettes, right? They just keep jacking up the taxes on that one pack of cigarettes, $10.
Yeah. So Singapore was very cool. Obviously, Perth was probably about my favorite. Mombasa, Kenya. It was very disease-ridden. Everybody had I've never seen elephantitis before, but literally, there was a lot. I would say everybody, but a lot of people with club extremities, super bizarre. That kind of once you see something like that, really, it does change your life, man. It makes you appreciate what you have back home. And that's why when people bash this country, on social media, it drives me nuts, man. I'm like, have you ever been outside of this country?
Right.
Sure, this country might not be perfect, man, but it is literally the best country I've ever been to. And I've been to a lot of countries.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really a fair statement because, we don't realize what we have until we are in an area that we don't have it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of how people are though, right? They just
They have
keep
no idea.
wanting more and more. And they don't recognize what they have at the moment.
Yeah. When you're walking the streets with the locals there and you're just like, wow, I could never make it here. I was walking down the street in Mombasa, Kenya. Like, I don't know if you remember back in in high school when they talked about Mombasa, Kenya, there's a street that has giant elephant tusks that cross.
I don't remember that in history.
Yeah. Okay, you should definitely look it up. I was
I'll
standing
have
right
to.
there looking at these giant tusks that cross. It looks like a bridge, but they're giant tusks that go across the street. There was a lady that walked up to me, and Mombasa is one of those countries that there's a few people that spoke English, but most people did not speak English. They spoke Swahili.
Okay.
There was a lady that came up to me, and she had a newborn baby, all bundled up, and she's crying, and she's trying to give me this baby, and she's trying to tell me, like, the message was, take my baby to America so it has a better life.
Oh my.
And she was bawling, and I'm just like, I can't take a baby on an aircraft carrier. First of all, I
Right.
would be arrested for human trafficking or something. I'm like, there's laws
Yeah.
against this. But it broke my heart because I so wanted to take this baby and bring it to America. But that's how much she loved her baby. She wanted her baby to have a better life.
Right.
And that's what I knew right then and there. Like, hey, we're doing the right thing here, man. We're out here helping people. Uh, you know, that's another reason why I love America. Now, a lot of people they'll complain, they stop giving our money to other countries. But and I kind of feel that way, but when I see how people really live out there, it's like, man, if we don't help them out, who the hell is going to?
Right.
That day literally changed my life. I'll never get rid of that image of that young mother crying, trying to give me a baby. It was
Mm. So, excuse me. So, how long were you in the Navy then?
I was in for a total of 8 years. I did 3 years of active duty, then I did 5 years of active reserves, which I
Okay.
hated. I hated the active reserves. I wish I would have just stayed in regular Navy.
In the regular Navy.
It was lame.
Yeah. And when you left the Navy, left military life,
Mhm.
and you were transitioning, were they providing you with any resources when you transitioned back to civilian life?
No, back then they didn't tell you crap. They just so my very last day when I checked out, I went down to personnel office. Uh, they calculated how much it would cost, or the mileage from San Francisco back to Detroit, because I joined in Detroit, so they always send you back to exactly where they picked you up at. And they
Oh,
gave me
that's
a
nice.
yeah, they gave me a big fat
Perfect.
check and said, "Here you go. See you later." They didn't tell me about the VA system. They didn't tell me about VFWs. They didn't tell me about American Legion. They didn't tell me about anything. So I didn't know anything. I walked into an American Legion like 10 years later, and it was right down the street from my house. I had no idea it was an American Legion post. I went there for a retirement party, and I was like, "What the hell is this place?" And turns out, yeah, I'm like, I wish they would tell you stuff like this. They just set me loose and said, good
And
luck
so
in
you
life."
used no resources for at least 10 years.
Zero, correct.
Okay. And then you joined with the American Legion, or did you just
I did. I've been a member of the American Legion for probably a little over 20 years, but yeah,
nice?
probably 25 years now.
Okay. And so when you came back, did you have a job already lined up, or what did you
No,
do?
no, I just, well, I went back to my parents' house until I could find something. I had no idea what I was going to do. The goal was to go back to school. I wanted to go to college because I didn't want to be a factory rat.
The
But
unstudious person wants to go to college.
Yeah, the military will change you.
right?
I started
It,
opening
it
up.
really shows a lot. It really provides a lot of discipline for you
Yes,
to
for
be able
sure.
to accomplish goals like that.
Yeah, 100%. I have no idea where I'd be at right now if it wasn't for the Navy. But so I went back to school, and then my girlfriend at the time got pregnant, so then I had to go get a job because needed insurance. So then I became what I didn't want to become, a factory rat. I was making ballpark Franks hot dogs at the high grade food products,
I
and
don't want to know what they put in it. I like my
yeah,
hot dogs.
it's pretty gross. It's pretty
I know
gross.
my husband's not a hot dog fan, and probably just for
Uh,
that reason. What I don't know probably will kill me, but it's okay. We
I
all
will
got to go
tell you
somewhere.
the first month on the job, I drug a garbage can around with me because I had the dry heaves all the time because
Oh,
the stench in the building was horrid. But then once I got acclimated to it, wasn't so bad.
it's not horse meat, right?
No,
Okay, good.
they really do use good meat, but just the way they do it and they emulsify it and stuff, it's just gross.
Do you eat hot dogs now?
There was probably about a decade where I did not eat a hot dog, but I'm back to eating them now. That was 30 some years ago. So
Is it all beef that you eat?
I will only eat a beef hot dog, man. Like they say meat hot dogs. So there's different hot dogs. You got beef hot dogs, you got meat hot dogs, and then you have chicken hot dogs.
Yeah.
A meat hot dog can be literally anything. It's just what it says, meat. You don't know. It could be beef, it could be pork, it could be chicken. You have no idea. It's just whatever's left over that they stuff it and they call it
Right.
meat. A
Cow
meat hot
tongue.
dog. Yeah, it could be anything. Where a beef hot dog is just straight beef. Like I would have no problem pulling anything out of the vat and grilling it and eating it. The other hand, the other ones that if it says
Yeah.
chicken or just if it doesn't say beef on it, just straight up beef. It has to be 100% beef. Don't
Yeah.
eat it if it doesn't.
No. Well, and Nathan's hot dogs, if I remember correctly, those are kosher. So it can't have any pork in it. It can't,
Mhm.
things like that. So um yeah, okay. And so how long were you doing that for?
I did it for 6 years. I did it to the company um, like downgraded and they moved all their product into another facility, but the facility was in Philadelphia and I was in Detroit, and so there was no way in hell I was gonna move to Philadelphia for
So Ron Wayne,
yeah,
cow, pork, chicken, skunk, it all equals a hot dog.
exactly. Exactly.
Ah, whew, that explains the smell.
Yeah, so after that place closed down, I applied to be at this other job. It was a automotive. They made car parts like um, fenders and hoods and stuff like that.
Mhm.
It was a stamping facility. Well, it was like a prototype stamping facility. So we stamp prototypes. And so I went in there, applied, and I said, "Hey, listen, I'll sweep the floors. I'll do anything. I have a young daughter, and I just need my company just closed down, so I'm unemployed. I'll do anything. I'll sweep the floor. I just need insurance. I don't even care how much you pay me." And so I started off um, sweeping the floor there. Then I worked my way into a die setter. But I remember uh, occasionally they would roll out this computer and they would try to hook it up to this 2,000-ton press so they can measure the tonnage on all four quarters. But
Oh, okay.
they could never figure out how to hook this computer up. So I'd get over there and I'd be like, "Hey, I worked with computers a little bit when I was in the Navy. So I was a yeoman, so I was an office guy, so I was in front of a computer all the time." And so I said, "If you want, I could take a look at it." So within 5 minutes, I had it hooked up. It was measuring all the corners. It was great. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, that was awesome. How'd you do that?" I'm like, "I don't know. It just comes natural to me." And so every time they wanted to hook this computer up, they'd call me over there. Well, the owner of the company found out about it, and he called me up to his office. And I was like, "Oh, great. What the hell did I do?" I go to the owner's office. And he was like, "Hey, Richard, I heard you're pretty good with that computer out there." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, Mr. Roberts. Yeah, just comes natural to me. It's all good. I'll help out wherever I can." And he says, and this was probably 25 years ago.
Okay.
He says, "Hey, I have multiple buildings. We're going to, and this was before networks were big. He's like, I'm putting together an IT team, and we're going to network all the buildings. Would you like to transfer over to the IT department?" And I was like, "Oh, hell yeah, that sounds like a great opportunity."
Nice.
So I transferred over IT without not really having any formal experience in it, and they sent me to school. Not only did they send me to school to learn this stuff, they let me go on company time, and they paid me while I was at school
Wow.
because I had a young family. So they paid for all my schooling, and now I've been in IT for 25 plus years, all because I was in the right spot at the right time, and
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then once you got out of that, so what um when did you start? Now, I did a little snooping on you.
yeah,
I'm not calling it stalking because that's
it's all
not
good.
right. um, I heard that you used to be involved in Little League.
Yes, me and my friends coach Little League.
Now, do you still do
Uh,
that?
so we took we're taking this year off. We No, but I have so many side projects.
You really do.
When people ask me what I do, I'm like, well, okay, that's a loaded question. From 6 o'clock in the morning till 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the afternoon, I'm an IT guy. But then as soon as I leave there, I go right into nonprofit work. And I have 2 podcasts, a nonprofit, a cookbook. And so I stay busy with my extracurricular activities.
Yes. A cookbook. You have a cookbook.
Yeah, so it's not just any cookbook. Let me show you, cover it. It's called From Sailor to Backyard Cook. That's me.
Awesome.
That's me, and that's my grandmother. My grandmother
Aw.
was a great cook. So what I did was I took my 2 favorite things. I love cooking. I've been cooking. So back when my kids were younger, my wife did everything. Went to work, and I came home. Finally, my wife said, "Hey, you need to start stepping up and doing some other stuff around here." So I said, "Okay, I'll start cooking." And so that was probably 20 some years ago. And I got tired of cooking the same old thing, like spaghetti or jar ragu in a pot, warming
Right.
up some noodles.
Yeah.
I got tired of doing that. So I taught myself how to cook. And so what I did was, and that's literally one of my biggest hobbies besides the podcast and the nonprofit is cooking. So what I did was I took my 2 favorite things, cooking and my podcast. So inside the cookbook, there'll be quotes. I took quotes right from my podcast from America's Heroes, and they're scattered throughout the book. And so I got the idea because remember Chicken Soup for the Soul?
I
I,
do.
I wanted to do something like that. I wanted to create a book, take my podcast, because some of these quotes are amazing, and a lot of people don't like listening to podcasts. So I figure I'll put my message in a cookbook also. So I'm going to read this one quote real quick. This is a
Sure.
guy. He was in the Marine Corps. He went to Afghanistan, and they came back with 100% of their men. But after that, the wheels fell off, and suicide started happening. And this unit has the highest suicide rate throughout all of the military. And
Oh, wow.
this is a quote from him. And this guy lives up in northern Michigan. His name is he goes by Gunny, but his last name's Gunnison. So he's not a gunny in the Marine Corps, but he goes by Gunny. The quote goes, "Our guys started dropping like flies from suicide. Our unit has one of the highest suicide rates out of the entire military. Yeah, I've lost 48 guys. It was 47. We just lost the guy. We just lost the guy at the end of January. Sean Jones. He was actually in my fire team. He was one of my junior Marines. He lived about 40 minutes away from me. So it hits pretty hard. and I put the stuttering and everything in here because I wanted to capture the real emotion of it.
Right.
And I attempted suicide in 2018, and I spent 3 weeks, just over 3 weeks, in the Battle Creek Ward 39. So it's a real thing that we struggle with. So inside this book, not only you're going to get some amazing recipes that are super easy recipes, like the marinara I just did, takes about 15 minutes, and it's in this cookbook, and it's amazing. But
So, Paul wants me to ask you about your chili mac recipe.
So Paul, I serve with Paul. He's been on my podcast before also, right? So he's in this, his quote is, this guy loved chili mac when he was in the Navy. He's actually retired chief. And so when he was a chief, working out of, I believe it was Texas, but he was, he was a maintenance chief for Hornets fighter planes, and his crew was out on an aircraft carrier doing carrier calls, and he was on the radio with another master chief that was on the ship, and he knew that Paul didn't live too far from this famous burrito place. So he says, "Hey, Paulie, can you do me a favor? Have a plane coming in. Can you put a bunch of burritos on it for me and bring it out for the guys?" And so Paul's like, "Yeah, sure, but can you do me a favor? Can you hook me up with some chili mac?" So the master chief takes this big old pot, fills it with chili mac, puts it in the nose of a fighter plane, shoots it off an aircraft carrier, brings it over to the shore to where Paulie was at, and they traded chili mac for the burritos. I'm pretty sure it was burritos.
Oh
But
my gosh.
so I found the actual chili mac recipe that the Navy uses. So in the book, in the back of the book, there's a chili mac recipe, but it literally feeds like over 100 people because it's the Navy's version of it. So when people read it, they're like, "Holy hell, how am I supposed to eat all this chili mac?" So it's kind of like it's like an inside joke there.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that.
Yeah, so everything I do is
okay, so there is, you can get it on Amazon.
oh
And
yeah,
I'm going
you
to put
found
it out there in the comments also. So if anybody's interested, should be able to just click on that link. Chili mac for all. That's right, Ron. So now we're a little over 200. We're about 210 subscribers. So when we hit 500, my goal is to do some giveaways. Would it be possible for you to do a couple of autographed
Absolutely.
cookbooks?
Yeah,
Excellent.
definitely.
So yes, honey, we need to buy one of those cookbooks. Okay. So I know you're running low on time. I'm going to go ahead and put out there for the those that are in the chats. If you've got questions for Richard, go ahead and put them out there. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and jump right into what your volunteer work is and your podcasts.
Yeah, so I've been volunteering in the veteran community for, like I said, probably about 25 years. I started off at the American Legion. I went to the chairs in the American Legion local post level, and then also the VFW, not only back home in Detroit, but also here in Middle Tennessee. So I have a bunch of different commander covers that are all over there. I've been commander of multiple VFWs, American Legion, Dearborn Allied War Veterans Council. But then when I started this podcast, it started to get pretty big. And I actually
what's the name of the podcast?
It's TSP, the Scuttlebutt Podcast. And it started getting some acclaim, right? I even won a national award in 2022. And then, it started making a little bit of money. And I felt dirty because it wasn't my goal to profit off of people's stories. Because not all war stories, but there's definitely some war stories. So it wasn't my intent to profit off of somebody else's story. So what I decided to do, I took that and I turned it into a nonprofit, Minutes Wisely. And so what I do, so everything that I do supports the nonprofit now. I have the two podcasts, TSP in NBR. NBR goes Sunday mornings. Me and my friends, we talk sports every Sunday morning. NBR stands for the Nosebleed Reports, and whatever money that the two podcasts make, it supports the nonprofit. The cookbook. If you buy a cookbook, 100% of the proceeds goes right to the nonprofit. Now, what the nonprofit is, we send veterans, first responders, and now we added Gold Star family members. We send them to sporting events. We started that about a year ago, and since then we've probably sent about 20 people to sporting events. And so the NFL, MLB, it's like not just any sporting event; it's like pretty big ones. Monday night football, and the only stipulation I have is, and it's 100% free. We'll try to pay for parking, and the goal is to take them to wine and dine them also, but not just to send them, but we try to send them with a mentor too, so they're not alone and they know that there's somebody that out there that they can talk to. Our goal is to stop veteran suicide. So everything I do goes to that, supporting that. We got some big events coming up this fall. September 11th, we have our big inaugural golf outing that we're putting together. And then a couple days after that, Charlie over at Single Tree Barbecue, who is a veteran-owned business, great barbecue. He's having a barbecue bash for us. All the proceeds will go right to Minutes Wisely. It includes all the food in the.
Now, is that just for veterans, or is that open to the public?
Everything's open to the public, and so we just try to get out to the community, generate some funds, and get our word out.
Jason says, sign him up for that golf outing.
Yeah,
you'll have to send me the information. I'll post it out there as well for you, so that we can get a little bit more broadly advertised. So we can see what we can. We're selling.
So it costs $400 for a team to golf, but for $500 you still get the team, but you also get the whole sponsorship. So you could have conversations with a vet on a flag out on the golf course, and then you can have. Awesome. And then you can have whatever 4 people that you want golfing in it. So.
Is it going to be a scramble?
Yes.
Oh, good, because I don't golf work.
I'm not a golfer either, but my guys are golfers, so I'm just going to be there running the show. Do you
know what the dates are for that?
That is yes, that is 9/11 at 8:00 in the morning, and it's going to be at Cedar Crest off at 840. But I've never been to Cedar Crest. All I know is off 840 routes. I think it's in Murfreesboro or out past. I don't know.
Okay.
Somewhere in
you'll have to, you'll have to send me that information so that I can get it put out there for you. And of course, it sounds like we're probably going to be joining that because, my husband's like, I can come up with a couple more for a team. I was like, okay then.
Yeah.
So, that'd be great fun.
There's going to be some great giveaways and a lot of great things going on that day. It's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. It sounds like you're continuing to serve your country and serve those who, may need a little extra help. And thank you very much, Paul. We'll put that out there for a moment. So golf tournament sponsored by Minutes Wisely, September 11th at Cedar Crest, and that's 8 a.m.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I think sign-in's going to be at like 7:30, but the shotguns start at 8 a.m.
Okay.
But there's going to be a Bloody Mary bar there. One of my friends who owns Heroes Vodka, who is a Marine veteran, I asked him if he would like to set up a Bloody Mary bar, and he said, yes, that'd be awesome. So it's all coming together.
Nice. Excellent. Excellent. Well, if there's anything we can do to help, you can just let us know. Jason says it's a fun course, so that's great news.
Yeah.
Do you have any last words you want to share with the audience?
Yeah. Stick around and hop on over to TSP's channel in 10 minutes because we're going to go live here in a minute.
There you go. There you go. So if you haven't checked him out, go ahead, take a look at TSP and that's on YouTube.
Yes.
Also, Minutes Wisely. I'm sure you could probably Google that for. Is it a
Yeah.
.org?
Yeah, it's minuteswisely.com. There
It's
is
a
a
.com. Okay.
yeah, there is a website there, although I'm doing all that myself too, so it might not look the best right now, but it's a work in progress, but there is some information there. And if you're a
Excellent.
veteran, first responder, or a Gold Star family, let us know, and we would love to send you to a game in the future.
Yeah, and if you guys want, if you know of any veterans who would like to be on Richard's podcast, you feel free. You can either reach out to him or feel free. You can reach out to me, and I'll get you in contact with Richard. Happy to do
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
So excellent. So I am not seeing any other questions, and look at that, we just hit it. So if you want to stay put for just a minute, we're
Yes,
going to go
absolutely.
ahead. Let's see. Oh, Jason said he was a first responder for 10 years back in Montana. I think he's wondering if that counts. So I don't know. Okay. Well, everybody, I want to thank you all for joining tonight and for welcoming Richard and hearing the conversation. As always, please, please, please be sure to go out there, hit that like button, throw out a comment, and also share this with your friends and family so we can
Yes.
continue to do great work, get our veterans the stories out there. And also, yes, be sure from sailor to backyard cook. So I did put that information out there in the comments as well. So feel free to click on that. Richard, thank you so very much for taking time out of your very
Yes.
busy schedule to join me tonight.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. Have a great night.